Hey Booktube, it's Kim at middle of the book march. If you hear whining in the background, that's my daughter. Just ignore her. This is kind of a tag, not really a tag, but it is Read Banned Books. And this was originated by Brian at Bookish. I'm going to link his video down below. And if I remember, I'm going to link some other folks' videos down below as well who've kind of taken the mission and run with it. So what we're basically doing is kind of highlighting some banned or challenged books based on current cultural climate and political climate of people trying to ban books all over the country. A lot of school districts in Texas and Virginia and some other countries, some other states, not countries, have tried to remove certain books from school shelves and library shelves. And so, you know, for many of us on Booktube, for me, in my opinion, there is no reason to ban any book. There's a certain level of intellectual freedom that all people should have. And if somebody doesn't want to read a book, they don't have to. There's nothing that's telling anybody you have to read this book. If a student of yours, if a child is assigned a book in school, there are options that if they don't want to read it, they're not going to be made to. If it's an assigned book for a class, each parent has the ability and the right to remove their child from that assignment. There are things you can work out with your students' teachers. However, it is never right to demand that any book is banned from all people in schools or all people going to the library. You know, 200 kids are not going to break down the library doors to get their hands on some challenged book, unless it's brought to their attention that this book contains explicit material based solely on parents highlighting whatever they believe is inappropriate about a book. So it's basically, if you want to advertise, hey kids, take this book out, then appear before your school board and try to ban something. So, if that wasn't clear, I am 100% against book banning and book challenging. Every parent is responsible for their individual children and their families. It is inappropriate and outright wrong for anybody to ban all books for all readers. What I'm going to do is I'm going to show you 3 modern classics, all of which I've read all these books. I have 4 books here to talk about. 3 of them are modern classics that I probably recently read in the last year or so. And then my 4th book is a book that is in elementary school libraries. The first one is Toni Morrison's The Bluest Eye. This is a book that is often assigned in high schools, and this is often assigned in English classes that are not necessarily advanced placement classes, so they're general English classes. And that's why this book comes up quite a bit, because it's more assigned in larger amounts of classes than the book Beloved by Toni Morrison, which is typically only assigned in advanced placement English classes. So that's why we hear a lot about The Bluest Eye being challenged or banned. According to the American Library Association, ALA.org, the majority of books are banned for sexual content, sexuality, or diversity in their characters, meaning LGBTQ characters. And so this particular book, the content contains depictions of child molestation and rape, as well as other forms of sexual abuse or psychological abuse. And when parents or people are trying to ban a book based on sexuality, when it's a topic that's talking about abuse or rape, that's not sexuality. There's a discussion there, and there's a lot of analysis that can happen. And what I've often read in the background of banned books like this one, when students read this in a high school class, quite often this leads to revelations. This leads to a child coming forward and talking about their own trauma. They come forward and talk to a guidance counselor or a teacher and talk about what happened in their lives. So this is actually something that can open doors for children to get healing. To talk about this book in its content being about sexuality is completely incorrect and inaccurate. The next one I just read a month or so ago. It's Sylvia Plast's The Bell Jar. And there's a lot of reasons why this book has been banned. And this, I think, was I assigned this in school? I think I was probably assigned this in high school. And I don't really know. I was in advanced placement English classes, so I don't really know if there was a difference with general placement classes. But The Bell Jar is, of course, the novelization of Sylvia Plath's life, her young life as a teenager and a young woman. And the book was banned for depictions of sexuality, for depictions of mental illness and suicide. And believe it or not, when this book came out and at its publication in 1970, this book came out posthumously, copyrighted in 1971. It was challenged and or banned based on its depiction of a young woman and her views on marriage and motherhood. Because quite obviously, Plath in this novel talks about marriage and motherhood in negative connotations. And the powers that be, usually white males, didn't like that, didn't like those assumptions that marriage was bad and motherhood was a burden and let's ban the book. We don't want any of our young girls reading that. So yes. The last modern classic I wanted to show you is Their Eyes Were Watching God by Zora Neale Hurston. I just finished this on audio, which was brilliant, 5 stars. And I had read the hard copy a few years ago. And interestingly, it didn't work as well for me in hard copy, but it did on audio. And I think if I went back now, after hearing the dialect, I would definitely give it 5 stars. Now, this is an interesting one because this book was banned and challenged for its depictions of sexuality. This book was first copyrighted in 1937. And I just finished this, and if there's any depictions of sexuality, they were so mild that I barely noticed them. And there may have been one scene where it's Janie and Tea Cake, and they are a married couple at this point, and they're fighting, and they end up getting to a level of passion that they make love, and then it's almost like make-up sex. But it's extremely mild in its depiction, and its writing, and its description. There's been some other books that are far more explicit than this one, which are nowhere near banned book lists. But this is definitely on the list for depictions of sexuality, which blows my mind. Absolutely blows my mind. And like I said, according to the ALA, the biggest reason why books are banned or challenged is sexuality and diversity in its characters. This last book is a book that is on in elementary school libraries. It's a scholastic book, which means you can order it from the Scholastic book order forms. And this is George by Alex Gino. I've talked about this book before a few times. I read this last year during Pride Month in June. And this is soon to be retitled Melissa. So, this is a book about a young transgender girl, and her only goal is to play Charlotte in the school production of Charlotte's Web. And at the time of her birth, she is named George and in a little boy's body. And her family believes they are raising a son. And she, in school, being known as George and being looked at as male, she tells the teacher, I want to play Charlotte. And the teacher laughs and laughs her off, saying, Charlotte is for a girl. You're a boy. You can't play Charlotte. And that's her only goal. It's her only goal, and she is stopped by the prejudice and the ignorance of a teacher. So the plot of the book is, will she get to that point where she can be Charlotte? But more importantly, it's about Melissa's identity. And by the time she is able to express herself in the way she truly needs to, and it's a very sweet book with a wonderful ending. It's so poignant and it's so enriching and compassionate that I can't believe why this would be challenged and or banned, even for the age group that this is directed to. People can be so frightened, and when they pick up a book meant for a child that has a transgender character in it, So many conservative people believe gender and sexuality are the same, and they freak out and they panic at the thought of a book meant for children that has sexual content in it. Gender and sexuality are completely different things, and so many people don't believe that, or they don't take the time to understand that they're not only are they not the same, but neither topic should be ignored, and both topics should be discussed and talked about out loud and out of the darkness, out of the secrets. And let's just talk and learn about different people and hear their voices and their experiences. But this is an absolutely beautiful book, and Alex Gino has written a few books, and I'm looking forward to this one coming back out with its new title. So those are the books that I wanted to highlight. This is a topic that makes me crazy because I've never believed in censorship. I've never believed in forbidding anybody to read something that they want to read. There are some things that I'm not going to like. I'm not going to, want to pick up certain books for whatever reasons. But I'm never going to say somebody else can't read that. There are certain things that are offensive to me that I would never stop somebody else from reading. And when it comes to books for children or books for young people or students, I've always been aware of what my daughters are reading, but I don't think I've ever said, oh no, you absolutely can't read that. And I'm going to the school and I'm going to stand in front of the school board and fight this. No, I believe that's totally wrong. And the fact that it's still happening, the fact that we're hearing so much coverage in the news about states like Texas or Virginia that are removing hundreds and hundreds of books from libraries, I think it's atrocious, and it's embarrassing. The desire of parents and or administrators and or adults that are coming forward to challenge books, the thought that they have that level of control, that they know best, and they're going to take their reasons and wind them into the school cultures to say, this is wrong, this needs to be pulled, is completely incorrect. One last quick story, and I think I might have talked about this before. In my local area, in a Maine town right over the border from me, about half an hour away, a grandmother who does not have children in the school systems anymore went before the school board to demand that they pull a book from the library that had to do with teaching kids about their bodies and about their sexuality, puberty, what's happening to your body type of a book. And she demanded that the libraries pull it because she believed it was offensive. It contained alternate views of sexuality, and she thought it was obscene, and she was denied. And then I read a letter that she wrote to the editor in the local paper, and come to find out she is a fundamentalist Christian who believes that this is an offense against God and it needs to be removed from our schools. So, yep. And a lot of the reasons that books are banned on basis of sexuality is based on fundamentalist beliefs from people who believe they have the right to demand that things are removed. So let's just, as readers and those of us who are parents, let's just keep our eyes open and aware of what people are trying to do to spite the rest of us and to make their demands become law. It's atrocious. So each one of these books is excellent. Go and buy this by George when it comes out as Melissa. Read Their Eyes Were Watching God. It's a beautiful book. The Bell Jar is excellent. I just read this with Heidi. And The Bluest Eye. I had not read this until this past year, and Toni Morrison, it's one of her best. So thanks for watching. Let me know in the comments below what you think, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye, everybody.